We bought it in 2022, renovated like 90 out of the 155 units. Got it to appraise for 20 million when we bought it for 10. The environment has completely doubled because anybody who puts their money in commercial real estate is risk adjusting the test against United States Treasury bonds. I think it's quite a reality how many people are figuring out how hard it is to really run these properties and run a business. Big picture in the economy right now, the biggest distress we're seeing is
Welcome back to Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. I'm Rod Khalifa, and I am thrilled that you're here. And this interview is so freaking long overdue, I can't even begin to tell you. So I've got Tyler Carney to board with us here today. He's with Atlas Capital, and he is the lender, actually the broker, loan broker that almost all my warriors use, my coaching students use for financing. And he lives in Sarasota, so there's no freaking excuse that he hasn't been on the show yet. How you doing,
That's
brother?
right. Good to see you again.
Likewise, bud. Well, he's always at our boot camps and whatnot. That's why he said good to see you again, because how many of those have you done? God.
Man, it's been a lot.
Yeah.
3 years now,
Yeah.
and
two
or three
a year?
warrior, and then 2 or 3 boot camps. So
right, yeah. So
we're starting to become friends. Like,
right, yeah. I hate to admit it, but it's
Yeah.
true. Yeah. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, we do a couple of warrior events, 2 or 3 sometimes, actually warrior-only events for our students, and then I have a big boot camp that I do every year live. And I think this year's actually, I'm going to give a hint away, I think this year's actually going to be L.A. Rather than Orlando, which has been the last few years.
Ooh,
but anyway, back
exciting.
to you.
That's exciting.
Is it?
West Coast.
It's a pain in the ass is what it is.
Well, it is for us, but
logistically, it's a pain in the ass.
exciting for the wife. Exciting for something.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Bring my new baby.
Yeah, bring the new baby. Yeah.
That'll be fun.
Why don't you talk about your background? I mean, you've done some significant commercial real estate as well.
Sure.
And talk about your background a little bit, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, sure. Well, 33 years old now. Started really out of college when I was 23 as an analyst for a mortgage broker in Cleveland, Ohio, Jim Leonard and Brock Walter, who are my all-time mentors and still friends to this day. But really started knowing absolutely nothing and really underwrote deals for them. As they made deals. By making deals, they bought deals, advised clients on mostly life insurance company financing at the time. And my friend Chris Litzler and I, who both went to Ohio Wesleyan, started in the business together. So it's been 10 years in the business for me. Flash forward 10 years, now invested in deals, financed over $1 billion in deals. Been a GP in my own deals, been an LP in plenty of deals, and really seen a lot of different angles.
Sure. And those of you that are brand new, GP means he's one of the operators that put the deal together. LP means a passive investor, general partner versus limited partner. So talk about a couple of the deals you did before we get into financing. I mean, we're really gonna dig into financing today. But didn't you do a brand new one here somewhere in Sarasota?
I've done ground up. Probably the most recent GP deal was a deal in Indianapolis, 155 unit value add multifamily deal.
Oh, okay.
We bought it in 2022. Renovated like 90 out of the 155 units. Got it to appraise for 20 million when we bought it for 10. Wow. So paid all of our investors back. Which
so
in this market,
refied it or sold it?
Refied it.
Refied
it and hold it. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
But to pay your investors back today, that's like a miracle.
Well, miracle is the right word. There's a ton of distress right now.
Yeah. So we were stressed for 2 years.
Right,
and really not making any money. And then the way our waterfall, works is all of our deferred interest, all the money we make, the GPs, comes after we pay the LPs back.
Right.
So now we've paid them back, and we exhale, and we cash flow. So that's fantastic. Like
Did you have a preferred return?
We didn't have a preferred return, but we paid 100% of their capital back first.
Okay.
And we didn't have fees.
So there was no return on their capital. It was all repayment of capital.
And so now we have a split.
Let me explain. Let me explain what you just said. So in very typical in a syndication, you'll have what's called a preferred return. And so the limited partners that bring in the equity, it's called equity. It's basically just the cash, in the capital stack versus the debt. So the limited partners and general partners that bring in the equity will get that equity will get a preferred return anywhere from 5 to 8% is common. We do 7 or 8% on our deals. And then after that, there's a split. And so what Tyler just did was, and so in those deals, that preferred return is return on capital. And so what Tyler did is a little different in that they basically said, we'll pay you back all your money before we take a dime, which is obviously very appealing to an investor. But that means that every penny that came out of that property was a return of capital.
Right.
Okay, so it wasn't just the liquidation event. Any cash during that period of time also was a return of capital, which is actually, they're both great. They're both great models. And so you have a split after that? What sort of a split did you have after that?
50-50
50-50, yeah, that's good.
Of course, the devil's in the details of all these things. Since it was my first syndication, we didn't charge very many fees up front.
No acquisition fee?
Right.
Oh, wow. Yeah, see,
but when you're starting out, I don't suggest no acquisition fee.
No. Let's talk about that a little bit. So, we typically charge 3%. I mean, on our last deal, that was $600,000. I mean, one acquisition fee can change your life.
But to be fair, you're experts, and Rod's bought a lot of deals over 35 years.
Well, there is that.
We baby-faced Tyler.
Yeah. Well, no.
Well, at the beginning, you do what you can. That's
it. You put deals together.
If we did it again, we'd do an AC fee.
Yeah.
So.
And here's why you should do an acquisition fee. Just for those of you that are learning, that may be the only money you make for 2 or 3 years. That was the case with you. That was the only money you made for 2 years.
Yeah,
if you'd have taken it.
Well, and it actually would have been our working capital. Which shit happens.
Well, yeah, it does. It does. So you didn't raise any operating reserves?
We did, but we still needed.
Still needed more.
Yeah, everybody still needs. more.
Yeah, you underestimate the operating reserves.
Right. So the no AC fee is nice, but we needed all of that cash. It ended up the partners lent cash for a while until we paid the people their money back.
Well, and it's good that you had the ability to do that.
Right.
So take an acquisition fee. It's 3 to 5% of the purchase price, and because again, that may be the only money you make until you reposition the property. But then then you make the big money. But that's how this business works in the syndication front. And so, you did a ground up thing though? I want to tell me about the ground up one here in Sarasota, because I was jealous of that one.
We've done several ground up deals with different partners, mostly in self-storage and apartment buildings. So I started out as an LP with a guy, Jeremiah Boucher, who's been on the podcast.
Really? I didn't know you were with Jeremiah. He's a good guy.
Yeah. Really both on the mortgage banking side and on the investing side.
I'll be darned.
So he has done a lot of ground up in New England, and I've LP done a lot of that.
He and I were actually in a mastermind together a long time ago.
Yeah.
Anyway.
He's definitely a big hero and mentor of mine.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Yeah.
If you notice, there's a little theme. I have a lot of great mentors. You, Jeremiah, surround myself with a lot of.
That's what you do. You surround yourself with people that think what you think is hard is easy.
Yeah.
That's the peer group you want.
Jeremiah thinks what I do is easy.
Yeah. So, good. Right. Exactly. And so, we all know better.
Right. That's right. So he taught me to do ground up, and then I partnered with a guy here in Florida with more ground up self-storage, and then partnered with that same partner to do ground up multifamily here in town.
No kidding. Okay.
Most of it's been growing up in the mortgage banking business, surrounding myself with mentors and networking, then partnering at first, and then becoming a bigger partner later.
Yeah.
Once I knew what I was
Just
doing.
a natural progression. That's a very wise progression, actually.
Took me 10 years, and it doesn't have to take anybody 10 years, but that's how it worked for me.
Well, you're a very analytical, very deliberate, careful guy, and
Yeah.
and it's that's and I will tell you, it's a common pathway. If you've got some extra money and to invest passively in somebody's deal, and learn the business behind the scenes a little bit. Like with my investors, I try to, although I've slacked off a little bit, I try to teach them as I'm going through a deal and make it as much education as reporting what's happening with the deal that they're investing in.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that's how I learned.
Yeah, that's and you get to see the behind the scenes stuff. Well, let's shift to financing.
Yeah.
I mean, we are in a very interesting place. Financially, economically in this country. I believe we're actually already in a recession.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about it briefly before we started recording, in that, I told you about the post I did on office debt. That
office
debt
is seriously challenged.
Yeah, that debt is almost as bad as it was in 08 and 9 when I lost $50 million. And and I know there's a ton of distress in the multifamily space as well. I mean, office is cratered because everybody's working from home since COVID. But multifamily, I mean, I've seen a ton of deals being sold for debt plus fees.
Yeah.
And they still don't pencil. They still don't make sense because the
still
debt's,
don't debt cover.
No, they don't debt cover.
Right.
Exactly. And so, there's going to be a reckoning. And these lenders, as they start taking these properties back, which they're starting to do, they're going to have to take haircuts, and there's going to be deals. So
that's it.
Yeah.
So big picture in the economy right now, the biggest distress we're seeing is debt cover. Mm-hmm. And that really doesn't matter if you have an office building, a multifamily building, or if even self-storage is lighter in projections and lease up, especially in states like Florida and Texas here, right?
Let me talk about debt cover for a second and give a little education.
Talk about it too.
Oh, well, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So basically, if we can simplify debt cover down, what's the payment and what's the NOI as the relationship to the payment?
Net income as a relationship
to
the payment. Mortgage payment.
If it's a positive, we have something to talk about, negotiate, something good. If it's a negative, we better have a story on when it's going to become positive really quickly.
Let me give a little more clarity.
Yep.
Okay, so it's called the debt service coverage ratio, and let me give you an example of it. So let's say, it's an annual calculation, and so let's say your net income for a property is $125,000 for the year. We're just going to use simple numbers. So $125,000 in net income. Okay, but your debt is $100,000 a year.
Your payment.
Debt payment for the year. Your mortgage payments annualized is $100,000. So $125,000 in income, $100,000 in debt. That's a 1.25% debt service coverage ratio, which is kind of the standard in the industry to meet. I mean, it goes up and down.
You'd want more of a buffer in
ideally.
office.
And
right.
and in and there's some
or
flexibility there
in
tertiary markets. That's right.
Right.
But
most importantly, we got to be above 1 with some buffer.
Right.
And when interest rates went from 2%, 3% to 7%, 8%, 9% on bridge lenders, 12%, then the debt cover ratios didn't really matter because the rents couldn't keep up with that.
So we're seeing deals where there are properties being marketed for the debt that's on them now, and those properties had a lot of equity put into them. So there's millions of dollars getting wiped out of people that invested in these deals, and they're being marketed for the debt, and even just being sold for the debt, which was
what you're
2 years
saying then is they're being sold for the debt. You put on 80% new loan. And then that loan doesn't break.
And it doesn't cover.
Right.
It still doesn't cover because of the price of the debt.
That's what we're still seeing. I see that a lot in Texas, Florida, really the Carolinas. I'm seeing that happen really more than open trades in multifamily right now, which is pretty wild.
Yeah, trades is a sale.
A sale,
guys. That's the nomenclature. You know, when you get in this business, you got to learn all the acronyms and the nomenclature, like NOI and trades, and you know.
And when you start in the business, you feel like an idiot because you don't know all of them.
Yeah. Well, my boot camp. Sorry to interrupt. My boot camp. I've got a glossary at the end of the manual that's got them all, and you just got to memorize them. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. The key is don't get discouraged.
Yeah.
Right.
How do you eat a whale? Right. One bite at a time. Tyler talked about, being a newbie, never having done anything 10 years ago. And, Michael Jordan once threw his first basketball, so
that's it.
That's how it works.
And all the way, Jim Leonard, on my third day in the office, he told me the way you take a picture of a building is terrible. Let me come down and show you how to take a picture of a building.
Wow. Okay. That's micro right there, baby. Okay. All right. I like him already.
Great upbringing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Talk about your opinion of today's market. I kind of gave you my opinion. I think the shit's going to hit the fan. I really do. And in commercial real estate, and it's already affecting single family as well. From what I'm hearing, sales are way down. I mean, I get a lot of hate when I talk about this online because there's, it's geographically specific.
Yeah.
But give your opinion of the marketplace right now.
Let me just kind of start big picture or what I've seen for 10 years. So, 10 years when I started in the business and when I was an analyst, the 10-year U.S. Treasury was 2% or less than 2%. And it was
explain why that's important. Explain what the Treasury is.
We'll get that in a sec. Okay. So the 10-year today is 4.5%.
So it was 2%, now it's 4.5%.
So it's doubled. The environment has completely doubled. Mm-hmm. Why does that matter? Because anybody who puts their money in commercial real estate is risk adjusting the test against United States Treasury bonds. Easy lingo. You could make 4.5% today with perceived no risk.
With a bond.
So
he did the air quotes with the perceived no risk, by the way. Although I believe now with Trump in office, it's probably is no risk, right? But
so 4.5% for no risk. So a mortgage lender better make 6.5%, 7%, or 8% because it's more risky to lend to you than to lend to the government.
Right.
And then to buy commercial real estate, you got to do hopefully even better than that.
Yeah.
So just macro picture. Every person that I know is still used to, that owns a building today, is still used to the value of that 2% U.S. Treasury. And so I see cap rates really, really sticky in the marketplace. Because
what do you mean by sticky?
Sticky means sellers don't want to sell for a higher cap rate than, or accept that the cap rate used to be 6 and now it's 8.
By the way, he's talking about the capitalization rate and a little more education because we're using a lot of things that, more technical
just
jargon. And the capitalization rate was put in place for investors to determine, to basically compare different asset classes, to compare office to retail to self-storage to multifamily. And the biggest factor that affects cap rates is risk. Now, a lot of factors affect it, but the biggest one is risk. And it's counterintuitive. The higher the cap rate, the lower the value. And so when he says they're sticky, it means that the sellers aren't making, they're not lowering the prices yet.
Right.
Okay. And which is interesting, but because, in many cases they can't.
Right.
Because
it might be lower than their debt.
Yeah.
So I've seen a massive stalemate for like 2 years.
Right.
I mean, we might have our best year ever, but industry wide, brokers, mortgage brokers, banks,
right,
the transactions are just far less.
I thought it was like literally 90% less sales than historical, like over the last, prior to 2 years ago. Sales are down 90% is one article I read.
Yeah.
And which is staggering.
Yeah.
And then you couple that
just
with
relative to the last 10 years.
Right.
We've had such a strong 7 years, but from 13 on was such a strong time in commercial real estate of trades.
Oh, sure.
And refinances. All of those things are positive.
Yeah.
And new construction and new construction lending.
Yeah.
And all of these things kind of have to do with each other. Because, like, for example, there's less trades. It's also really hard to get a construction loan today in Florida.
I mean, Merrill, my syndication attorney and real estate contracts attorney, owns 9,000 units, and he's got land that he hasn't been able to
get a construction
loan on.
Right.
And I mean, he is about as solid as you can get.
Yeah, which actually, it kind of helps my business a little here in Florida, because when it's hard to get a construction loan, you have to hire an expert to get a construction loan. So we've done a lot
So
of
let's explain. Let me give you a shout out. Okay, so the reason that my Warriors use Tyler so much is he's a broker. And so, because lending is very complex, I wouldn't even begin to try to select a final loan on a property myself. And I'm an expert in that end. I would use Tyler to identify the best loan product for a particular situation under the current economic situation, current economic place that we're at. That's the value of utilizing someone like Tyler rather than going directly to a lender, because not only is he going to tell you the best lending situation to go to, but he's also going to help position you in the best light to actually get you approved with that lender, So, that's the value.
Give you a quick example of that, just real quick. So, a lot of people think, hire a broker to get the best rate, right? Well, that in residential real estate, that might be true. In commercial real estate, there's just so many more factors. So we just talked about our waterfalls, right? When are we paying people back? When do we plan to sell? And what is this event that's going to happen? Well,
liquidation event. So that's a sale or a refi, guys.
So when this event happens, the most important thing from lending perspective is actually not the rate, not the term, not the amortization. It's the prepayment penalty.
Right. Because
during your liquidation event, are you going to be tied up for, another word, yield maintenance? We'll talk about yield maintenance in a sec. Or is it a 0% prepayment penalty or something you can get out of quickly and either refinance, sell, or pay your investors back? So, real quick, yield maintenance.
No. Let's not go that technical. Basically, there's yield maintenance and there's defeasance. They're basically prepayment penalties. Let's just keep it simple. They don't have to know why. And
strong ones.
And they're very expensive. Right. I mean, very often you'll see a step down situation where the first 2 years it's 5%. It goes to 4 the second 2, 3, 2, 1. And we're talking big numbers here. Right. So, you've got to factor all that in when you're considering the debt.
Because you might be only in the debt for a year or two.
Right. Right.
And then you have an event you hopefully
sell or refinance.
For your investors.
And you've got to factor all that in when you're determining the debt you're going to go with. Because if you've got a high prepayment, very often you can't refinance or sell. So that's why a lot of people use bridge debt in that scenario. The problem is bridge debt got abused in 2020, 21, 22, because Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which is what we call conforming debt, lowered their loan to value. And a lot of operators, and bridge debt was easy to get. And a lot of operators use bridge debt to get higher loan to values, because you could get higher loan to values. And the higher the loan to value, the better returns you can show an investor for the cash in a deal.
That's it.
Yeah.
And, just even a little technical, Fannie and Freddie didn't really lower their loan to values. They just stuck to their debt cover requirements.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay.
And when they stuck to their debt cover requirements,
the loan to value went down.
You could find the loan to value went down, and you could find a bridge lender to say, we'll give you a negative debt cover loan for a while because you think you're going to make it positive debt cover. And then operators, they either couldn't do that or rates went up.
Oh, there's so many things that happened. I mean, yeah, besides
Insurance
just
went
rates. I mean, there are a lot of bridge debt lenders that are really getting their butts handed to them
sure.
right now in a big way, and that have held off on foreclosing because if foreclosing hits their balance sheet. I mean, it's very common that they're just extending the loans. They're doing loan modifications, deferrals, and the catchphrase in the lending industry has been extend and pretend, right?
Yeah, that's been for a few years now.
Yeah,
and I'd say that's coming to a reckoning this year.
This year and next year. That's the point. I think like I say, the shit's going to hit the fan, and so they're going to have to take these properties back, and they are not in the property management business.
No.
They are not in the hold on to assets business.
No.
And when this happened in 08 and 9. There were lenders financing new buyers to come in, creditworthy borrowers, and they were actually financing the deals just to get them off their books. And so you're going to see that again. You can see auctions. Auctions are going to be big again. And candidly, I personally believe you're going to see some significant bank failures because a lot of commercial real estate debt's held by small and regional banks.
Yeah.
And a lot of office debt is as well.
We've already seen a lot of consolidation in that space.
In the bank space?
In the bank space.
Yeah.
Big banks eating up smaller banks.
Right. And guys, that's why someone like Tyler is so valuable, is because he'll take you to a bank or a credit union or a conforming loan like Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac or a life insurance company or even CMBS, commercial mortgage-backed securities, because it just depends on the deal. It depends on the numbers. It depends on the location. It depends on your exit strategy. It depends on the borrower's group. It depends. It depends. And so you need somebody like a Tyler to do that. And that's why, like I say, most of my warriors use him. But so back to, I guess we kind of talked about it, but just your overall global, or not global, just U.S. Economic outlook.
Yeah. Crystal ball.
Yeah, the crystal ball thing, which of course nobody knows, but we guess. I see it again. I see pain on the horizon for commercial real estate. It's already here, but I mean more pain. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think it's quite a reality. How many people are figuring out how hard it is to really run these properties and run a business
that's the
for
other piece.
A long period of time.
That's the other piece. It's not just the debt. Inflation has caused everything to go up.
Right.
I mean, we're paying now for a maintenance supervisor in the $30 an hour range. It was never that high before. Okay.
On the same asset where you're struggling on insurance.
Exactly. Insurance is way up. Taxes are up.
Yeah.
The cost of material is way up.
Yeah.
I mean, inflation affects everything. Now, luckily, inflation also affects rents, but it hasn't caught up. I mean, we have what's called an expense ratio, and that's basically the total income on the property less the property-related expenses, not the debt. And that expense ratio, the average has always been 50%.
Right.
Okay. Well, it's higher than that now.
Right.
And
a lot higher,
and that's killing a lot of them.
Especially in
Texas and Florida,
even Ohio.
Ohio, yeah. And so so it's not just the debt that's causing a lot of distress. It's also the increased expenses and costs. And so again, all of this is going to have to reach an equilibrium. And there's going to be a tipping point, and that equilibrium is going to be painful when it happens.
Yeah.
And there's no question.
My crystal ball is actually some pain.
Yeah. Oh, there's got to be. Yeah.
And having not been through a recession, but having a lot of great mentors.
Yeah.
I actually think they know more than I can know, because they say things that will happen that I always am like, oh, they said that was going to happen. And one of the big things they say is just, if there's 100 people in commercial real estate, that'll go down to 20 people and back up to 100 people. And you'll call me one day and you'll say, I can't believe this wave. And I just think it's amazing how competitive this game is.
Oh.
And how how big the wins are and how massive their losses are.
Yeah, well, there's no question in all of that.
And that's just what
there's no question in all of that. And I'll tell you, the expression I've heard is when the water recedes, you see who's naked, and there's a lot of naked,
a lot of ugly naked.
Yeah, a lot of things you can't unsee naked. Yeah,
a lot of things you can't unsee.
But yeah, no, there's a lot of operators in trouble, and I hate it.
Yeah, me too.
They've never been through.
And advising on it as a mortgage broker is really rough.
Yeah,
because
I'm sure.
Guess what? We don't get paid on those. So you're advising a tough situation. We advise every time, no matter what.
Yeah.
But it's not fun.
Yeah.
And guess what? Some of them are my LP deals.
Yeah.
We're all feeling it.
Yeah. Well, I'm in deals with an ex-partner that's he has ran these things into the ground, and we'll see how it all shakes out. But he got us into some bridge debt, huh? It happens. It is what it is. I'm an expert, and it happened to me. So, but we recover. We pull back. I mean, we get back to it, but it's painful. And but again, when I lost everything in 08 and 09, I just hid under a rock for a while. This time I'm ready, and I'm excited.
You say that a lot, but I'm always impressed with your perseverance.
Well, yeah. I mean, listen, just for a few months, and then I built another company.
Months.
Yeah. But the point is, I got crushed by that wave. I'm surfing this one, okay?
See?
And I see a lot of opportunity.
See, even though this time, this time you probably identified I have some pain, ex-partner over here.
Yeah, right.
But I'm not going to let that affect my mojo and opportunity.
It slows you down a little temporarily, but you don't let it. The other thing is, let's do this. Let's pivot for a minute. My warriors, my coaching students. By the way, you don't even know this, but we discovered we are somewhere between 260 and 270,000 units now.
Wow.
In the Warrior program in 7 years. I'm very proud
huge.
of that. Yeah, very proud of that. But the thing I wanted to mention is we are doing tons of other asset classes. I think you do know this. I mean, we've got thousands of self-storage units. We've got, a ton of senior housing going right now. And I'm getting into that. I'm probably raising money for a senior housing deal here next week.
I'm seeing a lot of creative, smaller deals.
Right.
Student
mobile home
housing,
parks, student housing being built or purchased.
Airbnb, creative plays, hotels.
Hotel conversions conversions to multifamily hotels. I mean, you
I've
name it.
I've seen basically
in the Warrior Group.
In the Warrior Group get really creative.
Yeah.
And that's what you got to do.
Well, and not just creative, but again, other asset classes.
Well, that's what I mean by creative.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
they're all looking for multifamily every day.
Right.
But it's been challenging to find them because of the cap rate thing we just talked about.
Right.
And so they have been really creative in using their underwriting skills and finding other niches.
Yeah. Well, I know we've got our Warrior Only event coming on May 31st and June 1st. There'll be a few hundred warriors there, and you'll be doing some presentations there.
That's it.
Merrill, on the syndication attorney, will be doing some presentations. I'll be doing some presentations. But what we discovered, guys, and the reason I implemented these Warrior Only events is we discovered my most successful Warriors coaching students are the ones that are the most connected in the Warrior community. And so we started strategizing how to facilitate those connections. So like we do Zoom breakout rooms and speed dating between Warriors. We connect Warriors by state, and we do these Warrior Only events where they can. The biggest thing there is networking, and because it really is who you know in this business even more than what you know. And I tell my new Warriors that it's like, get as connected as you can, because that really is the secret to success. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, so I'm going to go back a little bit. It's 2021. I'm at Marcus Millichap. Just started my own little small firm without a lot of confidence at the time. And I went to your mastermind right at the beginning of the year, at the first part of the year. And
the boardroom?
The boardroom.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Here in Sarasota. I remember now. That's you brought your wife. Yeah.
Yeah, so I gave a quick little short speech. And then you came up to me, you seemed impressed, and you said, would you like to come back to these type of events? I do a bunch of different ones, and I didn't know the difference between boardroom and warrior and whatever. But I knew the energy was all the same at all of them. And then you looked into me, and I had 6 or 7 or 8 warrior friends and customers and colleagues already before I knew you. Then I joined the Warrior program, and it's been big for just as much as big for me as I give back to it.
No,
so
that's nice of you to say.
yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I used to host the mastermind.
The networking, like you just said, it's the whole key, because there's really there's really experts in that room on a wide range of topics.
Yeah.
Marketing, sales, finding deals.
AI, actually. We got 2 people going to the Warrior event teaching AI this time.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That makes me a little nervous.
Yeah.
But I'll definitely be taking notes there. We need to do it more in my business. Fundraising, deal finding, broker relationships, all of these people are working on it constantly. Everybody's a highly motivated person. Some of them, some of your warriors still have highly successful careers and they're investing. Some of them invest full time. But it's always an inspiring room.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. No, it really is who you know, and you just,
that's it.
If you're really serious about this business, get into groups in your local market, meetup groups, real estate investor association groups. I just got invited to speak in Memphis, and I may go, even though I dog Memphis all the time. But I may go. I literally just got invited last night to speak at one of those things, and it's a friend. So
well, you're the king of groups, not even only real estate groups, but groups where you elevate your success. People are better than you, or
Napoleon Hill calls it the power of the mastermind.
Your picture with all of your
lanyards. Yeah.
I had to say, I got inspiration and copied you.
Oh, did you? Oh, good.
So I got one of those medal trophies in my office, but it's all my lanyards.
Oh, very nice.
From hustling.
Yeah, I tell people, I talk about the difference between college and specialized education in my boot camps, and I have this picture where I've got literally hundreds of lanyards and badges from masterminds, boot camps, workshops, and everything else that I've been to. And I was starting to say, I used to host the largest multifamily mastermind really in the world. The members of that probably now have $50 billion in assets. And it was just too much work, and I couldn't maintain it. I may go back to it, maybe do a once a year meeting, but it was awesome, and I'd forgotten that you came to one here in Sarasota. It was a lot of fun, but it was called the Multifamily Boardroom. But I have a lot of listeners that are sitting on the sidelines. They've got a job. It may not be a rat race job, but they know they want more. They've got a W-2 job. They may even like that job, but they don't have the ability to have the financial freedom and time freedom that they want. Wow. What would you say to those people that are listening, that are considering possibly doing this as a side hustle? You got any words of wisdom for them?
Oh, man. It is possible for anybody. And never give up. Yeah,
that's it. And actually get started. Okay,
and get started. And don't give up on.
That's right. Yeah,
get started is probably more important than never give up.
And you're going to have.
Rod is the key, and you seriously, as quirky as you are, no offense.
Yeah,
you're the king of getting started and never giving up.
Well, I thank you, and. The key is you're going to have setbacks. You're going to
never know what Rod's doing, but he's always moving.
Well, that is very, very true. It's really funny you say that. I want to come back to what I was just going to say. Well, my daughter was at JFK, and this is just funny. And she was sitting at a gate, and I happened to walk by, and she saw me from behind, and she knew it was me just from my gait because of my intense presence when I walk. No, not just the size, but just the way that I walk. She said she recognized my walk. Anyway, but you're going to have walls drop in front of you.
That's it.
And when that happens, if you've done your goals, if you come to one of my boot camps, that's the first thing we do is goal setting on steroids. So how the hell do you get anything if you don't know what it is? Yeah. You got to know what you want with clarity. It's got to be measurable, and you got to know why you want it. And so, if you know what it is you want and why you want it, when you have one of these walls drop in front of you, you just change your approach with your focus on the goal. And when another wall drops in front of you, change your approach with your focus on the goal. And that is the secret to success. It's never going to be a straight line, but if you stay focused on that outcome and you change your approach when you have a setback or you get your nose bloodied or you get knocked down, focus on that outcome and just change your approach. Success is inevitable.
That's it. And there's a lot of time you spend on your boot camp on the technical skills. And sure. do think those are important, and I'm one of the experts who teaches
Technical?
Technical, NOI, cap rates,
Oh, yeah,
how to
yeah, of
underwrite
course.
a
Yeah,
deal.
of course. It's not just mindset.
However, that's what I was getting to.
Yeah.
I think the mindset is the training that everybody really needs. And to the point, I mean, I have a mindset coach. We meet every 3 weeks.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep.
Good
it's
for you.
really important because I know that I have to sharpen those skills, even though it's kind of a little corny or whatever you might feel
Well,
it
some
is.
people may think it's corny. I'll be honest. That's the reason I had 50 million, lost it, and got back. You
Right.
know, is the mindset stuff.
But
And-
I
and
have to sharpen those skills
in my Warrior program, every Warrior gets high performance coaching from a certified high performance coach. It's the same thing. It's not just the technical.
It is the same thing.
And you know, you come to one of my boot camps, you'll leave so freaking juiced you'll be coming out of your skin because
Right.
I spend time on it, and you know, and it's you know, the technical is important. I know you think it's more important. I think the mindset's more important.
I think the mindset's more important.
Oh, you do? Good.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
I do.
All right,
I think
good.
it comes first.
Yeah, it does. It's
have
because you
to.
can have all the knowledge. You know, there's a reason. You know that there aren't as many college professors and librarians that are successful in business because you actually have to go do it,
Yeah.
right? And so,
Sure.
you know, that's the key to this.
And it doesn't go perfectly.
No, well,
Ever.
no.
So-
I mean, and you know, everybody sees this success of successful people online, not recognizing all the work it took.
That's
you know,
it.
I mean, you know, it's. I'm not going to say it's easy, but is it freaking worth it? You better freaking believe it's
Very
worth it.
worth
Yeah, you can grind for a few years like most people won't to live the rest of your life like most people can't. So why two last names? What's up with that? Would you explain that? I mean, I happen to know the answer, but why don't you explain it to my listeners? Because
Yeah.
it's very, very, very unusual for a guy.
Yeah, it actually isn't even me and my wife. It's my mom, so it's one more generation. My mom just retired from a big athletic career and had a huge successful career, and she wouldn't give up her last name in 1980. So that's why we have Carney DeBoard.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So big. My mom has been a big success, and then just mentioned Jim Leonard and Brock Walter. Grew up in Ohio, and before I came down here to Florida in this business.
And you have two kids now? Or?
Just one kid.
Just one.
10-month-old.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Addison.
I knew you had one brand new one.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. Just the one.
Yep. And Katie. Katie and I met at Ohio Wesleyan, and we've been married for 3 years.
Nice. So, in the financing realm right now, what do you what's the most challenging piece of that for you?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I think we started to touch on it before.
Well, we did debt's coverage ratio, but
Yeah.
if that is that it? Or-
Yeah, I mean, it is it. But I think the most challenging piece is that debt coverage ratio is a math problem that's very, very hard and hits you right in the face.
Right.
But you don't really necessarily feel that debt cover ratio because you think that the property is worth so much more. So lining up the person's expectations with the reality of what that debt quote actually is a wild difference.
Right.
So it used to be, you get hired for a construction loan and you go try to find them 75.
Higher interest.
Right.
Right.
Hired. Somebody
Oh,
hires.
hired. I'm sorry. I thought you
Somebody
said
hires
hired.
me
Gotcha.
to find them a construction loan, right? And we go get quotes for 75 or 80% loan to cost, and we see where they came in, and that was fine. Well, today they don't come in at 75 or 80% loan to cost. They come in wildly different numbers between 15 million, 16 million, 13 million, 12 million, 12.7 million.
On the same deal.
On the same deal.
Different
because
lenders.
Different debt coverage ratios.
Oh, got it.
Different requirements, different ways they look at it, different lenders stressing it. And so how do you explain that to somebody? Well, that's tough. That's a lot going on. And for some of my customers have been in this business for 30 years. This is the first 2 years that these math problems are coming up.
No kidding.
So
What
that's
causes
biggest
the
challenge.
disparity in the coverage ratios? Is it just the way each one underwrites differently?
Let's say Pinnacle Bank wants to underwrite to a 10% vacancy factor, and you have it at 5.
Right. And
I don't blame
that's
them.
painful. That's painful when you got to
painful.
explain that to one of your clients. They're like, "Hey, I can't help it. This is the way they're
The
underwriting it."
bank wants to stress it.
Yeah, it's called stress testing. So that's what he means when he says the banks wants to stress it. So they want to assume the worst. And and banks obviously are very, very conservative, and they're getting their asses handed to them right now because a lot of them weren't conservative.
That's it.
And so
And how can you blame them?
now, and this is what happened in 08 and 9 as well. They're like ostriches. The heads are in the sand, butts sticking out in the open, and this is a recurring cycle theme with lenders. Just so you know.
There's another one of my mentors telling me about this recurring theme.
Yeah, there you go.
This is why we hang out.
Yeah, this is nothing new. I mean, you could set your watch to this stuff, and like I said, that's why I know there's going to be auctions. I know there's going to be lenders financing deals. I know there's going to be some upset, and there's going to be some bank failures and some more consolidations because there's a lot of debt coming due. So if there was ever a freaking time to get into this business, hello, it's right freaking now.
That's it.
So get your ass to one of my boot camps or pick another vehicle if you're going to do some other asset class and go learn it. Maybe buy businesses. There's going to be incredible opportunity to buy businesses. 80 million baby boomers getting old. I used to say getting old and getting cold. That was my line. But, that's why I'm getting into senior housing as well. I think there's an incredible opportunity there. But listen, I appreciate you coming down here, bro. This has been a lot of fun. We're going to do this again. We're going to do this. We're going to do this at least once a year for sure moving forward. But anyway, I appreciate you, man.
All right, man.
Thanks.